or come
Well,
in.
here's a guy that would make a difference. Denico Autry.
Here we go, Boo. Now we're cooking with
defensive tackle from Tennessee. Now we're getting into
11.5 sacks last year. A dog.
It says Autry will be 34 in July, but there has been no slowing down for him heading into year 11. He recorded 11.5 sacks playing under new Lions run game coordinator and defensive line coach. Reunion Terrell Williams last season in Tennessee. Autry had 28.5 sacks over the last 3 seasons. Yeah, well, he answered a couple questions here, okay? There's a resume, there's a connection, and you bring in a vet. He would be cheaper because it'd be not cheaper, but it would be easier to kind of swallow that contract because it'd be probably 1 year. I said contract. You can't even do that. That
1 year.
We didn't say anything.
1 year, $8 million. Give him a year and 8 or something.
Yeah, because he's 34. You give him a 1 year deal
or 1.7.
Yeah. So I kind of like that. I'm interested in Autry. Maybe you 1 year, get him in. Hey, chase a Super Bowl. You get to reunite with Terrell Williams. He loves him.
That
makes a lot of sense.
It does because Brad's comments in the press conference, we want guys that we know what they're about and we know who they are. Former defensive line coach now in Detroit, just literally last year, he knows what he's about. So if he wants to do a 1 year deal and say, hey, I will go win a Super Bowl. I see Harold put in there, he's going to want 10. If he wants to come in and win a Super Bowl, maybe he'll want 10, but guess what? If you want to win a Super Bowl and you want to be on some of the good teams and get out of Tennessee, wherever you were, you might have to take $1 million off or $2 million off to be able to do that. And if you take a 1 year deal, $8 million, $7 million with some incentives, if we go and win, we'll get you this much. If you get to 7 sacks again, you'll get this much, whatever it is. I think that's a vet who would be like, yep, I'm in. Let's do it. Him with Aleem, sign me up, baby. And Tavondre, sign me up, baby.
Well, I don't know, but if they they might just because he is up there in age. But I would love Denico Autry. Like I would love it. I just think Lions fans shouldn't expect the same production that he's been having in Tennessee because he doesn't have Jeffrey Simmons right next to him. I think that's a big deal. But I think if there was a team that, I'm not saying he's going to take a huge discount, but maybe say instead of 11 million, I'll take 10 million. It is in Detroit because of all the connections that are there, and he fits the culture. He's a violent, nasty player that, like I always talk about with what was his name? I'm having Edrin Cooper. If he plays with like that type of play style, so I would love him in Detroit. He's very savvy, but he's also very explosive for how old he is. He would be a difference maker, and I think for the price, even if it is $10-11 million, he would make more of a difference than Kendall Fuller ever would for this defense. So I'll take him.
Yeah, as long as it's short term for him, it's a kind of player you know what he's going to bring. I have no problem with it. And obviously, he's going to fit well in the locker room with Terrell Williams. He played for him at Tennessee, so I don't mind that at all. 1 year, 10 million guy, you know what's going to bring every game. Obviously, what Lucas said, his production may be a little bit down, but he's still going to give it his all, and he's a good locker room guy. Would take it.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I agree with that. The production will be. I think he's coming. You walk in with Aiden, you have Aleem, and then if they draft an edge, like he's walking into a pretty good.
He would, but I think you're talking about defensive tackle as far as the sacks and productions. Jeffrey Simmons is an all-pro level defensive tackle that is lining up directly next to him, and I think Aleem McNeil's good, but there's a difference between Aleem McNeil and Jeffrey Simmons. And even on the outside, they had Harold Landry over there cooking, who's not the presence that Aiden Hutchinson is, but as far as getting to the quarterback, he even has a lot of production there. So I think I'm not saying he can't have an impact like he did in Tennessee. I'm saying strictly like the sack numbers. I don't think those would translate in Detroit because Aleem, he's the pass rush guy. I think Denico would almost command the double team before Aleem.
It's going to make Aleem better.
Yeah.
It's going to make everybody better. It's going to make your secondary better. And also, guys, they need a veteran presence on this defensive line. And no, I'm not talking about.
They do.
Hold on. I'm not talking about a Tutu Alu, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Tyson Alu.
I don't care what it is.
Or what's his name?
No, I don't even care.
Benito, guys.
No.
By the way, Stetson won. If anyone was wondering, they just hit a shot and then they won.
Well,
they were down 10.
All right, real quick.
March Madness, baby.
They need to add a veteran presence on this defensive line. You got Aiden. He's going into his third year. You got Aleem. He's still a young player. These guys and they played on a big stage, but you need somebody he's 34. The last 3 seasons have been productive. I don't see him falling off significantly unless he gets injured, of course, but that's why you have depth. I just think you need a nasty, just a dog next to on this defensive line. A guy who's just been in some big moments, played in a lot of games. Like I love this. Honestly,
I'm all in.
I think I'm all in. Like I think this is probably one of my favorite defensive linemen available, to be honest. Because it just makes so much sense. It's like you put the pieces together. I'm sure Terrell Williams is like, hey Dan, hey Brad, like shoot him a text. Like I know a guy over in Tennessee, dog. Like
I think
a 1-year deal. I promise
a lot of these free agent signings, fellas, is going to be like these connections. Like, look at CJ Garner-Johnson last year. Like, there was that connection with AG. I think of Denico Autry, like, as long they want to know who they're bringing in. And I think a guy like that, 11.5 sacks, you need a defensive tackle. Like, you need that. I'm with it. I'm all in on that, Jeff. I'm all in on that.
Lucas, I see where you're just.
Yeah. Steve, I love you. You're a valuable member of the chat. And I honestly do love hearing what you have to say. You're a lot of times you are correct, but this is a whiff. I want you to collect yourself.
Why?
Jeffrey Simmons, if this man didn't have trouble as far as off the field coming out of the draft, would have been a top 15 pick. And he has played like he's a top 10 pick since he's entered the NFL. This man is a game wrecker. There are probably Chris Jones, Aaron Donald. I'm thinking Quinnen Williams. Yep. And then I wouldn't take Adam Bouquet over Jeffrey Simmons. I wouldn't.
Wow.
Jeffrey Simmons in the run game is a monster. In the pass game is a monster. He's violent. He'll shred double teams. And it's not that I dislike Adam Bouquet, but what did Adam Bouquet do before the last 2 seasons? Jeffrey Simmons, since he stepped foot in the league, has been a problem. And when you talk about the Tennessee Titans, they were not worried about stopping Denico Autry. They were worried about Jeffrey Simmons game-wrecking the game. So I just disagree with that. It's not saying Aleem's bad. Like, Aleem's good. Jeffrey Simmons is great.
Can we kumbaya a little bit? All right. There's like a tier 1, and there's like all the tackles, defensive tackles we named, and then Aleem's kind of tier 2 rising. Is he still he's kind of floating in that tier 2? Is that fair?
Yeah, he's floating in that tier 2.
Okay.
All right. I just think Jeffrey Simmons is in that tier 1.
Yeah. Okay. I'll agree.
Yeah.
Because Aleem had a breakout year this year, had 5 sacks. Like, he's still a young player, and Jeffrey, to your point, has been doing it. He's had close to 10 the last 3 seasons. I mean, 5.5 last season, but I believe he was doing some injuries.
He had injury trouble. The whole locker room, and Tennessee was just off this year.
But before that, he had like 7.5, 8.5. So I get it. He's been doing it a little longer, but I think Autry, and you would agree, Lucas, if he comes here, this defensive line, he would still Terrell Williams. I think he'd still make an impact.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about this though. Aleem McNeil, this could be a big year for him as well. A huge year. Like he got injured towards the end last year, missed like 4 or 5 games. Went on like I don't know. I just feel like we see these defensive tackles, Denico Autry 11.5. We're talking about Jeffrey Simmons. Like maybe this is a year Aleem goes out there and gets 10 plus. Maybe
that's
Aleem
needs to get into that other tier.
Maybe he does that. He's still, like you said, Jeff. Aleem's young. What is this, year 3 for him? Year 4? Like he's still a young guy in this league right now. So this might be a year where we see an Aleem McNeil to where you can bring Denico in, and that even helps out. Like maybe not having that other side as well, like to Aiden Hutchinson, the bookend. That might have been affecting Aleem McNeil as well. And when you start actually getting some dudes in here who are going to win one-on-ones and create more pressure and help them out a little bit more, that opens up more for Aleem, Aiden Hutchinson, all of these guys. James Houston's healthy. He comes back. Like this defensive line, if Brad plays his cards right, he can build a nice defensive line because he does have some pieces. He has 3, in my opinion, Hutch, Aleem, and Houston. Like he has 3 guys that have some potential there, man. He just needs to put the right pieces around him.
And I'll say this: I think Aleem, he's also in a contract year, by the way. So that's another guy. You're
That makes it
4th year.
Well, that means he's going to want to show out. He really might go out there and put 10 up.